Cheap and easy to make, the insurgents have found IEDs the most effective means of stopping coalition forces. Improvised explosive devices, or IEDs, are responsible for more than 60% of the coalition fatalities in Iraq. And since 2009, the number of IEDs used against soldiers in Afghanistan has doubled.
A truck packed with large red cylinders.
I think that the way of warfare, unfortunately, is going to be an asymmetric battlefield with a lot of insurgency and guerrilla-type techniques.
Now, the Army has a new way to fight back.
They can pay anybody to plant the bombs. It's with the bomb maker we want to get. And that's who we're going after.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Have the intelligence to even prevent an IED from even being set off. You guys ready for the FTX?
It's something that's important to me. It's something that should be important to every one of these guys, too, because they're saving other soldiers' lives.
Weapons intelligence teams, WIT for short, are taught specialized skills to combat the insurgent threat.
Our training is based on a critical task list. That's conduct media exploitation, perform forensics collection, identify weapons, recognize the IED threat, and compose a WIT report. We're very hands-on, very performance-oriented. We train the way that we fight.
It's CSI on the battlefield, and weapons intelligence teams have the power to save lives. The Weapons Intelligence course is based here in Fort Huachuca in Arizona. The goal is to transform soldiers into high-tech investigators.
During this class, you guys have the chance to exploit, fairly large-size, realistic level IED post-blast scenarios.
In the field, teams conduct forensic investigations of blast sites for IED devices, providing critical intelligence about how the enemy is operating and providing evidence into the capture and prosecution of insurgents.
Any questions? WIT, I see, is the forefront, gathering the frontline intelligence for what we call level 1 exploitation. The WIT teams are responsible for coming up with the technology that the enemy's using against us. We basically take a year's worth of academia and try to crunch it into 2 months.
The first step for these weapons intelligence students is studying the design and power of the most common IEDs used against troops in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Fire in the hole.
Wow. We teach the characteristics of explosives, how to identify them. What we're looking at right here is just a improvised incendiary charge. Common trend over in Iraq in the built-up areas is they're hanging or draping these incendiary charges from overpasses and bridgeways.
Remember, this is 1 pound of explosive and 1 gallon of diesel fuel. Fire in the hole.
The larger frag-producing IEDs are too dangerous to observe from outside, so the weapons intelligence students move to the safety of a reinforced concrete bunker. As deadly as these weapons are, the main challenge for the team is time.
If you want to walk out and look at the targets here.
All their investigations take place in dangerous combat zones,
Got some pretty good casualties.
where the police or FBI stateside could take a week to process a scene. WIT personnel are taught to do it in 30 minutes or less.
The job in itself, there's a lot of different, CSI skills, if you will, that you're functioning, but it's the environment that you're doing them in. You're doing them in an environment where people want to kill you and are actively trying to do so. So you have to be able to function with that dark cloud, that threat of death and destruction looming over you.
In theater, 3 to 4 soldiers make up a weapons intelligence team, working together to accomplish their missions quickly and effectively.
Warhorse, this is Firebird, over. We're arriving on scene. Firebird's going to make contact with security element.
WIT Firebird has just received a 9-line order instructing them to investigate a roadside IED that detonated, striking a Humvee.
All right, team, we're rolling up on scene right now. Get ready to do your 5s and your 25s. Roger that, sir.
The team's safety is the top priority. During their WIT training, they're taught to use 5 and 25-meter searches to ensure the area they're investigating is safe.
Step number 1, we stop. What happens? 5 to 25. The first thing that they always do is what we call a 5 and 25 check, where they are checking for secondary devices, looking for any other hazards, ensuring that the area is safe for them to work in. Every time we occupy new territory, we do 5s and 25s. We don't know what's down here.
All right, we'll start a safety sweep from here. For 80 Foster, take the left flank. Resultant Sergeant Wayne will take the right flank. We'll meet back at this location.
Some of the enemy procedures is they will try to lure us to a site with an impending ambush. So I don't want a WIT team to roll into a site which may have a potential hazard that was overlooked by somebody standing there previous to them.
Insurgents often plant secondary explosive devices specifically designed to target WIT and EOD personnel working the site.
I've got a possible secondary with RC cord sticking out.
All right, we're out of here. 4-horse, we got a secondary device. Request for EOD out at our location.
WIT Firebird calls an EOD to dispose of the threat. With the area secure, the team approaches the blast site as a 360-degree sphere.
Primary site's going to be zone 1, 5 feet radius around it. From there, north is that direction, so that'll be zone 2, 3, 4.
Using police-style forensic techniques, they search for evidence scattered around the blast site. During training, the weapons intelligence students learn to search for fingerprints, pieces of the bomb, and anything that might contain DNA. This class focuses on a VBIT, a vehicle-based explosive device.
It starts with scene processing. You can't get anything else accomplished unless you understand the scene processing. Attention to detail, attention to detail. When you start searching the hood, you should check all those areas that could potentially be a hiding space.
The crime scene is a puzzle, and each piece is critical to helping identify and stop the bombers. On the battlefield, WIT Firebird works together, investigating the scene as quickly as possible.
You'll have a team leader, which kind of coordinates everything. Foster and Brady, go ahead and take zone 1. The other one is going to be the recorder or sketcher. They'll catalog where every piece of evidence is located on a scene. Also, you'll have on there the photographer, which is very key. Then you'll have evidence tech, and then collecting things up at the evidence collection point.
You had this area over here, right? Mm-hmm. Well, let me show you something. Getting the evidence against those guys so we can get those guys off the street, get them locked up, it has a big effect. Number one, it's one less bad guy that you got pointing a barrel at you and shooting at you. And two, it provides more security for that host nation.
But practice makes perfect. And in this exercise, the students have missed a couple of key clues.
2 footprints leading away from the car. M16 magazine. Remember I told you, look closely around your area, because you never know what you're going to find.
With the sheer number of IEDs used in Iraq and Afghanistan, the weapons intelligence students must be able to determine what evidence is linked to their blast site. The key is learning to read the specific signature that an IED leaves behind after detonation.
The damage, the hole and the fragmentation are what the students are here to look at.
Doug detonates the HME round, nearly 100 pounds of high explosive and shrapnel, a deadly weapon that is often used against U.S. troops in Afghanistan and Iraq. The students must determine which of the bomb craters is from today's blast.
The soil will change color as it dries out. Look at the different frag and just kind of calibrate your brain for what it looks like as it ages. It's pretty wicked, isn't it? Have a look at that frag. Notice there's none of that orange discoloration on it whatsoever.
Each crater tells a specific story. Clues to when the detonation took place, as well as what kind of explosive was used, can be found in the scorched earth.
But all of this, if you understand the mechanics and you know what you're looking for, it will tell you a story. Any questions about what we got going on here? Isn't this cool?
WIT Firebird gathers evidence from the blast site, establishing a custody chain. Everything is bagged and tagged so it can be examined in the safety of the team's base. But right from the moment of discovery, the team's procedure mirrors the FBI or the police stateside, ensuring that the evidence can be used in a court of law.
We know that teams will testify. I testified against a detainee when I was in Iraq. and we know that they could be called to testify. And with the status of forces agreement in Iraq, we need to ensure that everything is correct.
The WIT students move on to hands-on practical exercises to investigate an IED explosion on their own.
I'm going to start the time. If you need bags, gloves, anything, come with me.
They must process the evidence to figure out exactly what happened. The students have made an important discovery.
All right, who's the team leader for this incident? All right, what happened, sir?
We got the first blast that went off. We believe it was a buried device.
They must search for leads beyond the physical evidence as well. Eyewitnesses may have crucial information that can help them understand the crime scene or even locate the bomber.
Okay. If you speak English, can you come over here and speak with us for a minute? Hey, what is your name?
On site, Whit Firebird uses the field interviews to get a better picture of what happened during the IED explosion.
We're going to take your picture here real quick.
With your left eye?
They also use the HIDE device, a cutting-edge biometric scanner that allows them to take iris scans and fingerprints from any witnesses they may encounter.
Can you lift up your headdress for me? Outstanding.
Basically, all this new technology makes a big difference and makes us more effective on the battlefield.
I want you to place this finger right here for me.
Unlike a fake ID or false name, there's no fooling biometric data. The scanner takes the information in the field, and then it is loaded into a powerful Army database called BAT.
With that system, because it uses the biometrics, yes, they can give us a false name, but we're not really identifying them by that. We're identifying by the biometrics, and there's no way they can hide from us. We know who they are.
Working together, Whit Firebird gathers all of the important information from the blast site.
There'll be situations where, there'll be hasty ambushes if we're there too long. Time on scene should be about 30 minutes. You go a little bit too far over that, you can run into trouble.
Evac! Evac! I've got the evidence! Roger that, let's go!
It's a dangerous end to a successful search, but the team's work is just beginning. The second phase of the WIT investigation begins once the team returns from the blast site. The students are instructed in CSI skills, allowing them to gather more intelligence from the evidence they recovered.
Make sure your USB cable is plugged into your box.
The first weapon in the WIT students' arsenal is media exploitation.
A piece of evidence has been collected that we've identified as electronic media, a cell phone, a SIM card for a cell phone, a computer that is found on scene, or a hard drive. Essentially, you may think that a disk doesn't hold anything, but things generally haven't fully been erased when you think they have. And that is something that they are taught to look for.
WIT personnel are also taught to fingerprint bomb fragments, cell phones, or any piece of evidence from the blast site that could be linked to the bomber.
If that person had anything to do with that crime, they've touched it, their DNA's on it, their fingerprints or so forth, we're going to figure that out.
Important evidence can be shared with the entire coalition force. If a specific print can be linked to an operating area or a specific bomb signature, teams may be one step closer in finding and prosecuting the bomber.
Standard soldiers picking up evidence, turning it into the different forensics laboratories, and the turnaround time to get the information on that could be 30, 60, 90 days. During that 30 to 90 day period, how many soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines are we going to be losing? By instilling full level 1 exploitation capabilities within our WIT teams, that matter of 30 to 90 days can hopefully be turned into 10 to 12 hours.
WIT training is also pushing the soldiers to go beyond technical expertise and actually think like the bombers. It's an important part of being able to identify and help capture the enemy.
Okay, the way that you have it drawn right now, you want to take care of the blasting cap and you're going to tie it to your normally closed. Because remember, as soon as you apply power, this switch is coming up right here and you will instantly blow yourself up.
In this exercise, they play the role of insurgent, building their own VBID.
There's various problems and things that the bombers will do to overcome issues they run into. It's hard to wrap your brain around those until you actually build the device.
Because we can actually run the leads off here
The weapons intelligence students wire the bomb into the car and then work to camouflage it so that it could approach the target undetected.
And although it's raised up, we just fill up the rest of the back of it with clothes or whatever we could.
It's nice and smooth, it looks pretty good. What's the primary target you're going after?
Primary target is ECP. This can be detonated in 3 different ways, so we could hit a number of targets.
You're going to put the hurt down on these guys. Pay attention to the way that you had to build it and where you had to run the wires. Because that's what we're looking for in a WIT team. That's why we're building this device, is you can see the mechanics of how a VBID works, what it takes to bring everything together, so you know where to start exploiting your vehicle when you get out on site.
If I had to say, probably one I enjoyed the most was putting together the IEDs, learning exactly how they put them together, why they put them certain ways, because it gives me a lot of insight to understanding on a scene their TTPs and what they would have to do before the boom to get that set up. Go ahead and try pressing the button up front. Doesn't work. A call? Doesn't work. But even with the safety on there, if I remove this battery.
The exercise helps WIT soldiers recognize the specific profile and techniques of the insurgents.
Hey, Sergeant Foster, what do you got going on here?
This is evidence that we collected yesterday at the primary site.
In the field, WIT Firebird is putting those skills to work,
We got a relay on this.
analyzing the evidence they've collected to see what they can learn about the bomber.
Okay. And it's actually pretty ingenious because basically they can put this in place safely, arm it when they need to.
All we need to do now is look for the signature.
Yes, exactly.
There is one last challenge for the soldiers in the Weapons Intelligence course, an intense 3-day event that replicates how they will operate in theater and incorporates everything they've learned in the 7-week course.
Okay, good morning, everybody. You guys ready for the FTX?
Okay, this is the final training phase. In the Army, we like to use the model of the crawl, walk, run analogy. So this would be kind of considered the running phase. And this is the field training exercise, the final field training exercise. And for 72 hours, they're going to go and they will respond to various scenarios set up to simulate actual events that have happened in both Iraq and Afghanistan. This is kind of the phase where we let them go to try to run on their own. And at the end, we'll give them an after-action review.
The students are briefed on their area of operations, with Fort Huachuca standing in for the combat zone.
We can pretty much consider the entire southern Arizona area as the country of Facilia where we are operating from.
Next, each team establishes their own work location, which represents a forward operating base that will be their staging area for the exercise. But minutes after arriving, the first round of 9-line reports arrive.
Hey, team, bring it in.
And the team is launched into action.
You want inside or out?
I'll take inside.
Okay.
I think that the lives of all of the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines lays directly in their hands.
1 RPG, 1, 2, and 3.
Depending on how good or how poor of a job that they do is going to dictate how much safety that they are guaranteed over there.
We went out to a location where there had been a report of an IED in place. In this case, after exploring the site further, we found an ambush location where they had set up some small arms and RPG.
We're able to train people in 7 weeks and get them, I mean, some of these guys that are in class right now, they graduate in 2 weeks. They go home for, I don't know, maybe a week or two. They're going straight into Iraq or Afghanistan. And we're able to influence that, to be able to train them to that standard to say, hey, you're ready. You know, we've given you everything that we can. You're ready to go save people. Basically, bottom line, you're ready to go save people.
This has got the 4137 on it, digital.
The final step for the weapons intelligence students is taking all the information they've gathered and combining it into an intelligence brief.
The students should come away from the program recognizing that they are fully trained, fully capable, certified WIT team members, and that they're now subject matter experts in WIT, and that they're also a definite force multiplier.
The WIT training cranks up the impact soldiers can have on the battlefield. The technology and skills taught here gives the coalition forces a new edge in the fight against IEDs. WIT Firebird is converting the evidence from the IED bombing into actionable intelligence.
Hey guys, let's see if we can put this all together, taking the evidence and intelligence we got.
Sir?
Yes.
The Uhura just gave us a positive reading for Syntax H.
We had these 4 incidents in the last week that have all used Syntex H.
Okay, and these 3 of those 4 use that same passive infrared device. Let's get all this evidence intelligence put together. Let's get it up to Brigade 2 so they can put together a targeting folder and go get these guys.
Being able to gather and make sense of all the information from a blast site is what makes WIT teams so powerful.
Definitely saves lives. And from firsthand experience, I had a soldier that came up to me during my first deployment and said, you know, I'm really glad that you told me because we listened and we didn't do what you told us not to do and we didn't get blown up.
I know that what I say here directly affects their ability to do their job, and I may give them that little kernel of wisdom that makes them come home after their next rotation.
There's always going to be a need for WIT over in the Philippines, over in Africa, over in South America, anywhere that there's conflict in the world. People that can exploit forensics information and forensics value on a battlefield are going to be necessary.
The biggest thing for my team is when you get a call from the lab saying, hey, we identified, you know, ex-insurgents with the information you got and the evidence you provided, and they've been captured and we're going to be taken to court. I think that's, you know, when you're doing that mission, that's the culmination.
Being on a team, going out there and actually processing and seeing, making sure it goes right, and knowing that there's going to be results based upon that. You know, people are going to be saved and bad guys are going to go down.